Hi, Trevor here, reflecting on life through music. Thank you for stopping by. Well, come in today. You're very welcome in this beautiful, stunningly beautiful day in Adelaide today, Adelaide, South Australia. It's great to see you all back. I trust you enjoyed my last video on George Ezra and through his song Shotgun. We talked about just going for it at a time, so I trust you found that encouraging. We're going to Jacob Gershwin, born in 1898. Well, actually, his family originated in, I dare say, Ukraine. But because of the growing tensions, they moved to New York in the early 19th century. The guy we're talking about is American composing royalty. In fact, not just American, but world composing royalty here. This guy changed everything. George Gershwin, who we're talking about today. And of course, George with his brother Ira were involved in many musicals on Broadway. In fact, they wrote about 18 musicals on Broadway, and there's even one in London. But George Gershwin is significant because he brought jazz into the concert hall, and we're going to get onto the piece you need to know. We're talking about pieces today, not songs. They're pieces, they're works of art, these things, because he was across popular, jazz and classical. And certainly when we go through some of the different genres he's got, you'll see that this guy is an absolute powerhouse composer. There was a movie, Rhapsody in Blue, which we'll get onto in a minute, but I remember watching that movie and seeing the frustration this guy had in a place called Tin Can Alley, which is where a lot of producers and songwriters and songs were just getting churned out. And I remember the frustrations that George had, because he was writing for other people. He had come up with this pretty amazing idea, and the boss would say, "Nah, you're not being paid to do that. You do something else." So it was only going to be a matter of time before George said, "Bugger that." Now, George didn't take to music at the start. It wasn't. The story goes that he saw a kid performing just in a neighbourhood concert, and at that point he was hooked in music. So Al Jolson, actually, well, Al Jolson has a link here, and you remember I did a couple of videos in him a little while ago now, and he needed to get two because of his significance in the world of entertainment. But George Gershwin's break came through in 1919, Swanee, How I Love You, How I Love You. And of course, who are you going to get to sing a song like this one? Al Jolson. So you put a song like this one and Al Jolson together, and you get an absolutely worldwide mega hit here. Now, as you look at the Al Jolson clip to below, I'm just going to warn you, because I'm just, I suppose, being culturally sensitive and culturally aware of where we are these days. This look would not fly now. But back in the early 1900s, the minstrel show was all the rage, and Al Jolson was quite instrumental in bringing people of colour into his acts. So I think if anyone can put on the blackface like we have here, Al Jolson could do that. He had such a way about him; he could get away with it, and he did make an impact on people of colour and entertainment. So in lots of ways, I think this is a true representation of what's going on here. So I've got a live version of Al Jolson singing Swanee, How I Love You, How I Love You. What a great song that one is. But there was more to George Gershwin than just musicals and little songs like this one. He was also an orchestral composer. Now, I've done a few composers in the past. I've done Mozart and Bach and Wagner. Well, just because we get into the 19th century doesn't mean that classical music was stopped being composed. It just changed. And it changed a lot with Rhapsody in Blue. Now, as I talked to you about before, George Gershwin was famous for bringing jazz into the concert hall. And what we've got here is we've got a clip now. Just listen to the clarinet at the start. Iconic iconic clarinet part there. I don't even know how you get a clarinet to do that. Playing the clarinet myself, sometimes I don't know how you get a clarinet to do that. He just is all mouth. That's how you do it. So imagine the scene. We've got this young upstart composer, born in 1898, so 26 years old, play the piano really well, by the way. So in this movie, the reason I'm showing you this clip is I'm getting you to see the reactions of the audience. They're looking at their watches, they're looking with stern, they've written the song off before it starts. This piece goes for around 15 minutes. So if you think about most pieces go for about an hour. 15 minutes is a little bit out there. And also look at the instrumentation on stage. It's a jazz band more than an orchestra, with just a few other bits and pieces thrown in, including a drum kit and guitars and banjos and all sorts of bits and pieces. So Rhapsody in Blue is a very, very significant piece because it was at that moment that the world of composing changed, and it was great to be able to celebrate that George Gershwin, the genius that he was, brought that to the world. So what I've got below, I've got a couple of versions of Rhapsody in Blue. Now, again, in this day and age of people needing to move on to things really, really quickly, move on to the next video, the encouragement here is to pause. First of all, pause to realise that there's a lot of musicians on stage here. Music has been written for all of these people. There are no computers. So to imagine the harmonies and all the textures of music and all the melodies, it takes a genius to be able to do that. So we've got the movie version of Rhapsody in Blue. Now, unfortunately, it's not all there, but that's okay. Just look at the crowd and what they're thinking. You can feel the tension in the air as they're trying to listen to this young upstart 26-year-old playing the piano and the orchestra playing this piece. Now, obviously that's not George Gershwin playing, that's an actor because it's a movie, but just look at the complexity of what's going on here. But I thought, well, you've got to actually have a full version of Rhapsody in Blue because there's some pretty amazing stuff that the movie version doesn't cover. So, you can look at the first one. I suppose the big takeaway from the first clip is looking at the crowd. The second take is we've got pianist Lang Lang. Now, he's known for his artistry, his faces, and the way he just gets carried away with the music that he plays. So we've got Lang Lang playing it all the way through. Now, if you feel yourself getting a little bit more intense in your emotions, welcome to the world of classical music. That's what classical music does, particularly after the Romantic period. The Romantic period, which was just a few years before this, really changed, brought emotion into music. So if you feel your emotions going a little bit all over the place, the music's doing its job. But you've got to listen to it, hey, all the way through. So that's a challenge for you today. And if you did listen to it all the way through, put a comment below saying, hey, watched it all the way through. How cool is that? So, we've got a movie version and a live version of Rhapsody in Blue. You've got to have that one. Oh, we also have Swanee, our Jolson. But he was also into musicals. I thought we'd better get a couple of musicals in there. I Got Rhythm from An American in Paris, 1923. Here we've got Gene Kelly. Of course, what a great guy to sing I Got Rhythm because he was rhythm. So, don't know much about the story of An American in Paris. It sounds like, American love, all that sort of stuff, the Paris, beautiful Paris skyline, all the rest of it. And so we got I Got Rhythm, having really nice time with the kids here in this particular clip. Then move forward to 1935, and we've got Summertime. This is from an opera, folk opera, the first folk opera ever performed, Porgy and Bess. Wasn't the most successful of operas, this one. It was just a little bit before its time. But here we've got Ella Fitzgerald, who I covered recently, the First Lady of Song, doing this song so well. Oh my goodness. There's so much space required in this song. Just listen to the way this song just oozes into your very, very being. You're feeling hot as you listen to this song. And this is the magic of the Gershwins was the magic of them being able to just capture our emotions in such a beautiful, beautiful way. So we've got Ella Fitzgerald singing "Summertime." Who else would we have but hers to sing that? So in their heyday, Ira and George Gershwin were the richest songwriters on Broadway. In fact, because they were just in demand and they could basically ask any money they liked, thank goodness George left Tin Can Alley and moved on to something else. And he's also regarded as one of the wealthiest composers of all time. In fact, during his career, he wrote 10 classical pieces, some solo pieces, 2 operas, 1 London musical, and 18 Broadway musicals. He received an Academy Award nomination in 1937. We'll get onto the significance of this in a minute. A Congressional Gold Medal in 1935, the Pulitzer Prize in 1998. And there's also a theatre named the Ira and George Gershwin Theatre in Broadway. And there's an award called the George and Ira Gershwin Award for significant contribution to music. If you win that one, you're actually in really, really good company. Now, as with most geniuses, George Gershwin died in 1937. He was only 38 years old. So go back to 10 classical pieces, solo pieces, 2 operas, 1 London musical, and 18 Broadway musicals. That's an incredible career right there. And to think that he also not only brought music to the world, but he changed it, particularly in Rhapsody in Blue, such a significant piece of music, that one. In the movie, his brother, the actor's playing his brother, he looks at his watch and says, 15 minutes. Very significant piece, because pieces went on for longer. But, George think, well, if you can't say it in 15 minutes, what's the point? But to actually bring a piano into there as well, and I think you noticed in that first clip, there's actually 2 pianos. One piano's this time doing a bit of the rhythm, and then you got George doing his thing as the lead piano. So it's almost a bit of a concerto in blue. Rhapsody is, I suppose, a 20th century version of concerto. And so, yeah, please look at these clips and just realise you're looking at composing royalty right here. So he died of a brain hemorrhage at the age of 38. So yeah, gosh, there we go. But it's great to give this guy a tribute today. Again, when I think of George Gershwin, I think of my dad, because Dad loved the big band era. He loved George Gershwin as well. So rest in peace, Dad. I hope you're having a great time up there. So the links to those, how many got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 clips are in the description below. And I've also included, just for something completely different, George Ezra from last time. So if you want a recap on him, feel free. Well, if this is your first time to Life Reflections through music, or you've come back for another one, I mean, what channel goes from George Ezra to George Gershwin? I mean, it just doesn't happen, does it? But this is where this channel goes, because we're working for the G's at the moment again. Keep remembering people that I've forgotten, but there we go. Well, so thank you everyone for being here. So good to see you all here. Well, next time we're going to go on to a request. Now, this young lass in Melbourne, Greta Ray, came to my attention from someone I met recently. And it's just something about this song that we need to look at next time. So until then, I'll catch you around. Bye for now.